most famous physical therapist on the internet.
Hi, folks. I'm Bob Schrupp, physical therapist.
Brad Heineck, physical therapist.
Together with the most famous physical therapists on the internet.
In our opinion, of course, Bob.
Humble opinion that's demented. Today we're going to talk about how to fix the most common injury in young athletes.
Us?
We're going to keep you in suspense for a little bit.
Oh.
No, not like us.
Well, we're young, but that's relative.
The old athletes. But what is it that causes this most common injury? We'll go over that.
Yeah, we
By the
need
way,
to know.
if you're new to our channel, please take a second to subscribe to us. We provide videos how to stay healthy, fit, pain-free, and we upload every day. Go to bobandbrad.com. Go to the giveaway section because we're always giving something away every week. And this week we're giving away a Bob and Brad stretched out strap. We'll probably give away a couple of them.
Yep.
Really handy if you like stretching.
Right. I like it for my hamstrings in particular.
Yep. You can go to Facebook. It'll be pinned to the top of the page. Go to Twitter, Instagram, or TikTok if you're tired of us rambling and you want a 60-second version of our program.
Well, I couldn't blame them for that, Bob.
That's right.
One way or another, we also have the podcast for the people who like the rambling on, and then you don't even have to look at our faces. Just listen to us driving down the road.
All right. So you're going to listen to a bunch of old guys talk here now because I remember back when I participated in sports, and back then sports, you played them, but they didn't take over your life.
It was typically a seasonal thing.
Right.
And,
nobody played a sport all year round.
No.
And I don't know of anybody that did that.
Right.
The same sport.
I remember in the 70s, we were highly encouraged to wrestle during the summer.
Sure.
Summer tournaments.
But you didn't in the spring and you didn't in the fall.
No.
Right. But now that's all changed because kids are getting more
specialized,
yes,
and highly encouraged by coaches
to play year round,
and that's going to get you into the better chances to become.
Well,
maybe go to the D1 school.
And I don't think that's
scholarship.
True. We're going to talk about that, but I don't think it's true. So what is happening with all this?
Yeah.
We are getting overuse injuries. And that is the number one injury that we are seeing now.
And you know this because?
Statistics. Over half of the sports medicine injuries in children and teens are from overuse.
Okay.
So obviously there's the injury, trauma injury, but there's this one is the most common one by far. Shin splints would be an example of this.
Yep.
If you run too much, or if you don't stretch, correctly, you're going to get pain in your shins.
Yep.
That and you need to back off, or you can actually develop a fracture. Even.
Sure. Yeah, my daughter had knee pain that was overuse, and there's shoulder pain. It varies from sport to sport.
Shoulder pain in swimmers. So overuse injuries have 4 stages.
Okay.
Usually the first stage, you just have pain in the area after you did the activity.
So then that night you go home a little sore.
Yeah. Then it gets worse. You start feeling the pain while you're doing the activity.
Right.
Then you feel it during the activity, and it actually affects your performance. And the final stage, it hurts all the time, even at rest.
Right.
That's
a chronic thing.
Yeah.
And that's when it's hardest to treat and get you back into the game. Is that correct, Bob?
Yes, correct. And children and teens are at increased risk for this because their bones are growing and they're less resilient to stress. So we got some ideas here on what you should do to try to prevent this.
Okay.
And I've got examples of people who went the other way and were crazy on this with their kids. So
you mean with the treatment?
Well, no, like for example, I had we knew a family. You see certain sports where people are a little bit nuts, and she was into softball. She was a softball pitcher, very good pitcher, and he had her pitching year round and no break from it. She was doing other sports in addition to that.
Sure.
And she blew out her arm and she had to have surgery. I mean,
on her shoulder.
Yeah, on her shoulder. So number one, we usually have athletes avoid specializing in one sport.
Sure.
And I'm going to argue that I actually think you become a better athlete, and you might even become better at your one sport if you play a lot of different sports. You develop different coordinations and different muscles.
It's like cross training.
Yes, it is. So, and we're really worried about also burnout. I knew many kids that played softball and they loved it, and by the time they were seniors, they didn't even want to play anymore.
Yeah, they get into that. It gets pretty.
It's like a job.
It's stressful
Yeah.
psychologically and physically, and then you have school and a number of other things that play into it.
Now, if you're going to participate in one sport, well, during the season, we recommend not more than 5 days a week.
Yeah.
So, a lot of times you got that tournament on the weekend, and then you go right back in another week, and
Mhm.
you're going in the one
Right.
sport.
And those tournaments, if you like my daughter play basketball, they do 7 games in a
That's
weekend, 4 on
ridiculous.
Saturday. I mean, if you want all of them, yeah, and it's just like these kids, they would never do that to a professional
Right.
basketball team.
Right.
I mean, they would have injuries left and right.
Yeah.
But anyways,
When I was coaching, I honestly would not we wouldn't go to tournaments where they were more than 3 games
yeah,
because it was ridiculous. By the fourth game, it's so sloppy and
yeah,
they're so tired out and they just want to go home. so, so you should take at least one day off a week from
Mhm.
organized activity to recover physically and
Yep.
mentally. Have that, mental status day.
right. And
So-
hopefully the coaches are going to offer workouts and train with easier days and more difficult days. I remember when I was in cross country, we ran hard every day.
Yeah,
We
that's
never
not
did.
right.
We didn't do hills. We didn't do hardly anything to break it up. It was psychologically, it was no
Really
fun.
tough.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's too bad because I like running, but I
Yeah.
couldn't take that.
Yeah. Again.
And he was a nice coach. He just, it was back
Yeah,
in the 70s.
You
They
don't
didn't-
know that.
They didn't know anything
Right.
back then.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. He was a nice guy.
And as an athlete, you should take at least 3 months a year off from a specific sport. So,
Sure.
like, let's say you really like basketball, you can spread it out. It doesn't have to be 3 months in a row, but take a month off here. You're just going to become a better athlete, I think.
The body needs time to heal. The mind needs time to take a break
Yeah.
and think about things a little bit.
And when you're training, one of the problems is too when people go, "This is Brad," he goes from 0 to 100. There's no 0 to 10, 0 to.
There, I'm getting better,
You're getting
Bob.
better?
I'm getting better, Bob. But
Life
I gotta
is
say,
teaching you
this
lessons.
morning I did my 20-mile bike route in record time.
Yeah.
Well, not complete record in the last 3 years. So I was pretty pumped up.
He's always got a record with himself, right? I mean,
Yeah, it's
you're
my.
battling
Yeah, I mean,
yourself.
I'm slow, but compared to my, it's just what I do.
Really, the right way to do it is you want to increase by no more than 10% per week. So, like, let's say
Like-
you're running a mile, you should next week you'd run a mile and 0.10.
Right.
You
Yeah.
you don't start running a mile, then the next day run 2 miles
Right.
and then 3 miles. That's the Brad technique. so,
I'm learning, though, Bob. It's just taking 50
but you do
years.
cross train too, Brad.
I cross train
and
a lot.
that's one of the recommendations is that you cross train. That's going to help a lot.
And I think throwing in some strength training, if you're doing an endurance or running, swimming, any of those endurance athletes, I never used to strength train, and now I do, and I notice a difference. And that's something that even, in high school, there was hardly any of strength training if you were in track or unless you were doing
Right.
shot put or distance.
Exactly. It's a huge part of it. It
Yeah.
really is.
That's changed a lot over the years.
Yeah, and I remember one of the really great runners from the area. His dad was really smart about this, and he had him bike a lot.
Sure.
Instead of just running.
Yep.
You can run in a pool. You can vary things up a little bit. So
Right, yep.
More interesting.
Do hill work, speed work on a track with short distances.
And really, burnout is a big thing among kids now too. They're not allowed to play.
Right. I remember this one girl, my daughter played basketball. Her life revolved around basketball until she got into high school, and she didn't even play her last 2 years.
Yeah.
And she was happy not to.
I talked to a dad that he was really kind of his daughter that was part of a volleyball team that really was successful, and they ended up winning state. And she even said, "Well, Dad, I kind of I missed all these things growing up on the weekends." And he goes, "I felt really bad, like she didn't really. They had won state. She didn't really care.
Yeah.
She was like, I missed all these things."
Well, your son won state in the 4x4, and you talk about
4x8.
4x8. I'm sorry. That when he goes by the track up in the
Yeah.
cities, he gets all. He still gets those.
He
bad
doesn't even like
memories
it. Yeah, he
'cause
doesn't
he
have
got
good
so
memories of
nervous.
it. Yeah, exactly. It was not a good weekend for him, and I just drove him. But no, I was very good with my son. I encouraged him to play other sports. He played basketball. He didn't run during well, you run during the basketball season, but
Yeah.
you know,
Right.
he during the summer I'd have him take some time off,
Sure.
and so
Yeah.
keep it fun and age appropriate. I knew a family, and I won't tell who it is, obviously, but really a good runner at a young age,
Hmm.
and he was out there training his young kids. They were 7 and 8 years
Oh.
old, and he was doing stopwatch and training intervals and stuff like that. I
Yeah.
mean, come on. I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, and that those kids are going to burn out. There's no doubt about it. I
Right.
mean,
Right. And
and
then you fight injuries. I know
yeah,
Bob has a lot of kids around his neighborhood, and you used to be the go-to therapist, weren't you, for a
right,
number of them?
right,
Like, we got to go
right.
see Bob and
Yeah,
see what we could do about this injury.
yeah. A lot of overuse injuries
Yep.
is what we saw. So that's the goal is to make a well-rounded athlete who loves the sport
Right.
and is mentally involved too, and not just physically.
Exactly. So
So
good luck, have fun, and I don't know
have
if
fun.
this
Yes.
revolves about. Yeah, it's like I just was thinking about that. The Sandlot.
Yes,
That
yeah,
movie, The
that movie, The
Sandlot. The
Sandlot.
guy, he can't throw the ball, and the star, one of the stars of the movie comes up here. Just have fun and throw it. It'll
Yeah.
make your life so much better, and it did.
That's kids would do a lot back then. That was fun.
Yeah, it was
So.
fun. So good luck, and find a Sandlot in your backyard and have fun.